I sat looking at the .38 caliber revolver with one round left. I couldn't believe how much things had gone wrong in the last 48 hours or so. I sat by the side of this lonely country road, watching the big snowflakes gently fall down, and thought that it would be better for everyone if I ended it right here. You probably want to know what brought me here. My name is Marvin Coolidge, and by the way, I have no relation to the former president. I've been married to Jane for the last 20 years and thought I had it all. A good job, a comfortable home, a reliable truck, 2 kids now in college, a well-behaved dog we raised from puppyhood, and a loving wife who would never turn her back on me. Jane and I have known each other for many years. We went to the same school, dated occasionally, then went to college where we started dating more often and eventually fell in love. We married after college and went to work for her father, Dale Collins, at his company, DC Ironworks, which specialized in wrought iron furniture and other home decor items such as spiral staircases. We had, as it seemed to me, a strong marriage based on love and mutual trust. The company we worked for earned good money since the products were not cheap. Dale believed in making quality things, and quality comes at a price, as he said. Jane worked in accounting and eventually became the chief financial officer, or CFO. I worked as an engineer, designing and maintaining equipment used in manufacturing. At the time of this story, I was in charge of the engineering department. Dale was a no-compromise man who didn't put up with any nonsense from anyone, and yes, he could swing a hammer as well as anyone. What he could do with a piece of hot iron amazed me. He also had a strong moral stance and was known for firing people for things like infidelity or public drunkenness, and he didn't care who it was. Everyone obeyed the rules, even his own daughter and son-in-law. Then Roger fucking Williams showed up. Roger was hired as an engineer in my department. He was what Clint Eastwood's character once described as a legend in his own mind. Yes, he was a pretty decent engineer and could really shine if he put his mind to it. But he also considered himself a jack of all trades. He complained about everything and loved to brag about his so-called achievements, including photography and his mastery of Photoshop. He liked to brag that he could do anything with a photograph, and no one would ever know the difference. He also liked to brag about his love affairs, which bothered many of his employees, including me. I tried to warn him, saying that Dale doesn't like this kind of thing. But he brushed off my concerns, saying he was single, so it wasn't a problem. He almost paid for it one day when he showed us topless photos of Darla, a girl who worked for Jane. He said he took the photo during their date last Saturday. I knew that wasn't true because Darla was married, and they were at our house the night Roger was supposedly on a date with her. You better put this away and never let Dale find out about it, I told him. But the fact that, Roger asked, I know this photo is fake, and I know you weren't dating her because she and her husband were at our house when you were supposedly on a date with her, I said. Roger's eyes widened. If Dale finds out about this, you could get fired. She could get fired too. And God help you if her husband finds out. Roger's face turned pale. Darla's husband, Jerry, was a huge man, one of the best blacksmiths in the business. Everyone loved him and considered him a good giant, but it was better not to make him angry. Maybe I'll think of something to hurt you, he said. I couldn't believe he said that. You know, I always thought that Jane was a beautiful woman. You can think about it yourself. You son of a bitch, I growled. If you touch us, I swear to God, I'll wrap a piece of hot iron around your damn neck. Keep it together, Roger said with a smirk on his face. He avoided me as much as he could for the next few months, but I knew something was up at the annual holiday party a few days before Christmas Eve. Roger gathered a group of employees around him and showed them something. I heard them giggle and saw some of them glance in my direction with grins on their faces. What does this all mean? Jane asked as we ate dinner. I shook my head. No idea, I said. Maybe he's showing pictures of his latest conquest. After dinner and speeches, the music started and everyone started dancing. Roger came up to us and asked Jane to dance. She looked at me for approval and I nodded. Make sure you don't go near her, I told Roger. "Don't worry, boss. I'll take good care of your beautiful wife," he said with a grin. I watched them dance for a few songs. I wasn't worried about Jane, but I was keeping an eye on Roger. I saw him try several times, but she pushed him away. Jerry, Darla's husband, sat next to me. "This guy is trouble, Marv," he said. I nodded in agreement. "You better watch yourself." "Do you know something that I don't know?" I asked him. He looked confused. "He shows pictures that can put you in a bad position," Jerry said. I looked at him, worried. "What photos?" I asked. "It looks like it's you and Teresa kissing in the office," he said. Teresa Hamilton was a recently divorced woman who worked in the design department and therefore reported to me. I never touched Teresa in all the years I knew her. I realized that if Dale saw these photos, I could easily be fired and Jane would file for divorce. Without thinking twice, Dale came up to me half an hour later, and my world began to crumble. "Do you have a few minutes, Marvin?" he asked. "Of course, Dale," I said. "What's happened?" "I don't want to say this in front of everyone, but I'm afraid I'll have to fire you," he said. I was shocked. "What?" I asked. "Why?" Dale pulled out a photo of Teresa kissing a man. The man's face looked like mine. I was furious. "What the hell is this?" I asked. "Dale, you know I would never do anything like that. I would never cheat on Jane. You know that. It's one of Roger's fake photos." Dale shook his head. "Maybe it is, maybe it is not," he said. "You know how I feel about these things. If I don't punish you, I'll have to forgive everyone. That could open the door to a sexual harassment lawsuit, and I can't turn a blind eye to that. I think it's best if you give me your pass and keys. I'll ask Jane to bring your things home later along with your severance package." "Dale, this is bullshit, and you know it," I said. He doctored this photo, like many others. "Sorry, Marvin," he said. "Until you prove otherwise, I must fire you." "Give me this photo, and I'll send it to an expert for analysis," I said. Dale handed me the photo. "I think you'd better leave now," Dale said. I looked around for Jane, but didn't see her. My face burned with humiliation as I left the party. I was ready to kill Roger with my bare hands and wasn't too happy with Dale. We knew each other for more than 20 years. How could he turn his back on me so easily? I drove to a nearby bar and thought about my options while I drank a few beers. I considered filing a claim against Dale for wrongful termination, but rejected the idea since we were an at-will workforce, which meant employers could fire anyone for any reason or no reason at all. I was also thinking about filing a lawsuit against Roger after I smashed his face with a 2-meter board. Finally, I got back in my truck and drove home. When I arrived home, I noticed a red Mustang in the driveway. It was Roger's car. What the hell is he doing here? I asked myself. I walked into the house and saw Jane with her head on Roger's shoulder, his arms around her. When she looked at me, I realized that she was crying. "What is this bastard doing here?" I asked. Jane's face instantly turned red with anger. "He brought me home since you left. You bastard," she screamed at me. "How could you do this to me?" "I didn't do anything, Jane," I shouted back. "That bastard faked this photo to get me fired, and your father bought it." "Yeah, well, I think that photo looks pretty convincing," she cried. "Get out. I've already packed your things. Take them and leave. I'm filing for divorce, and I'm going to leave you with nothing. Get out." I looked at Roger, who was smiling. "Don't worry, Marv, old buddy," he said. "I'll take care of Jane for you. I promise to keep her warm in bed." I moved towards him. "You fucking bastard," I screamed. "I'll kill you for this." Jane stopped me before I could get it. "No, you won't touch it," she said. "If you touch him, I'll call the police and have you arrested. Now get out. Now!" I couldn't believe what was happening. "Okay, Jane," I said. "I'll leave, but I promise you this isn't over. Go to your lawyer. When I'm done, you'll all pay for this. And if you sleep with that bastard, I'll countersue for treason." I looked at our Christmas tree and the gifts under it. I walked over and took one of the gifts I bought for Jane, an expensive necklace. "What are you doing?" she asked. Since you're filing for divorce, I'm returning this to get my money back. It was a Christmas present for you, I said. I pointed my finger at Roger. It's not over yet, bastard. When I'm done with you, you'll wish you were born. I looked around but didn't see Sparky, so I called her. She ran into the front room and sat at my feet, looking at me. Are you taking Sparky? Jane asked. Yes, I said. She's the only one who stayed true, so she's coming with me. Merry damn Christmas, traitor. I grabbed the leash from the door and the open bag of dog food. I also grabbed my suitcase and walked out the door. I heard Jane crying and Roger comforting her. Don't worry, Jane, he said. You'll be better off without this loser. Let's sit on the couch. I walked to the car and Sparky sat next to me in the seat, looking out the window with her tongue hanging out. Jane and I adopted her from an animal shelter when she was a little puppy several years ago. She was a golden retriever Australian shepherd mix and was one of, if not the best dog I have ever had. I found a motel that accepted pet dogs and stayed for the night. At least my credit card still worked. I knew that tomorrow I would have to make some changes to protect myself. Sparky lay down on the bed and curled up at my feet. I didn't sleep well that night, and the next day I went looking for a lawyer and a photo expert. First, I went to the bank and split our accounts, putting half of the money in a separate account in my name. I also paid off and canceled our joint credit cards and applied for a new one in my name. In short, I did what most men do when facing divorce to avoid being ripped off financially. Somehow I managed to see a lawyer, and he gave me bad news. If Jane decides to file for divorce, I could be seriously screwed. The only thing that worked in my favor was that she made more money than me, so I had a chance to avoid child support. The house was a wedding gift to us from Dale. It belonged to his grandparents, and he inherited it when they died, so it's likely Jane will keep the house. He strongly recommended filing a lawsuit against Roger for the fake photo, so I gave him the green light to start the process. He suggested filing a lawsuit against Dale as well, but I decided to hold off on that for now. The most important thing, he told me, was to get proof that the photo was faked, so he set about it with the help of his expert, while simultaneously preparing a lawsuit against Roger. I then returned the necklace to the store where I bought it and received my money back. Luckily, I still had the check in my wallet, and I walked away with the $1,000 check in my hand. I hope things get better for you, Mr. Coolidge, the store owner said. Thank you, I said as I walked out. Late that evening, my cell phone rang, indicating an incoming call. I looked at the number. It was Jane. Yes, I said, answering the call. I have your severance check and your things from the office at home, she said. If you want to pick them up, you need to come. I'll be there, I said, hanging up. I drove to the house, and fortunately, Roger's car was not there. Jane stood on the porch with a box at her feet. I drove up and got out of the truck. Jane handed me the check and turned to go back into the house. Jane, I said, this is a mistake. You're damn right it's a mistake, she said. How could you cheat on me, and on company territory? Damn it, Jane, I said. I've never cheated on you, not even once. That bastard Roger doctored that photo, and this isn't the first time he's done it. He faked a photo with Darla once. Did you know that? Jane's eyes widened. It can't be, she said. He wouldn't do that. But he did it, I said. I warned him not to do that again. Maybe that's why he did what he did. He brought more photos today, she said. It shows you and Teresa in a motel. Having sex. Dad fired her this morning. I shook my head in disbelief. And you just blindly believe this crap? I asked. You, Roger, and your father are going to be in a lot of shit when these photos are proven to be fake. Did you even ask how he got those photos? Or don't you care? Of course I care, she said. I just can't believe you actually had sex with her. Because I haven't done it. Ever, I said. Well, I met with a lawyer today, and I'm filing for divorce on the grounds of infidelity, she said. I'm also getting a protective order to keep you away from me and the house. After the way you acted last night, I don't want you around. Do what you want, I said. And once I prove these photos are fake, I'll sue you for libel. All of you, including your lover, and it won't be pretty. I'm sure of it, bitch. She pulled away from me. I've never spoken to her like that before. He is not my lover, she said. And even if we had sex, it's none of your business. Are you afraid that Dad might fire you if he finds out? I asked. There was nothing between us, she said. Same as between me and Teresa, I said. I'm telling you, Jane, you and your father better get your heads out of your asses and fast. I promise I'll take legal action if you don't. She looked at me in shock. She started to say something, but I turned and left. On the way back to the motel, I had an idea. Returning to my room, I took out my phone and called Teresa. She was very upset. Teresa, this is Marvin, I said. Hi, Marvin, she said. I realized that she was crying. I heard you got fired today, I said. Yeah, that bastard Roger showed Dale pictures of us together, she said. I told Dale they were fake, but he fired me anyway. Do you think we could meet and discuss how to handle this? I asked. I've already seen the lawyer. He tried the same thing with Darla. Maybe if we all team up, we can take them down and get your job back. I don't know, Marvin, she said. I don't have money for a lawyer. It's already hard for me to make ends meet. I don't know what to do now. Don't worry about it, I said. I'll cover the lawyer's fees, and if you need money to survive, I can help you. I can't ask you to do that, she said. No problem, I said. I'm so grateful, she said. I don't know when I'll be able to pay you back. Don't worry about it, I said. So, do you want to meet? Of course, she said. If you can come tomorrow, I'll make meatloaf. Sounds great, I said. I'll call them and see if we can all come by 6 o'clock. Is that okay? Of course, she said. See you then. Can I bring my dog? I asked. Of course, she said. I've always loved Sparky. She's a wonderful dog. Okay, I said. Take care of yourself, Teresa. Things will get better, I promise. I hope you're right, she said. I dialed Darla and Jerry's number and spoke to Darla when she answered. Hey, Marvin, what's going on? She asked. There are all sorts of rumors going around at work, and Jane is completely devastated. I briefly told her what was going on and told her that Roger had tried to do the same to her. What? She asked. Yes, I said. I told him to stop this crap or he'll get fired. Or my husband will clean his face, she said. Yes, we'll meet at Teresa's tomorrow evening. I'll talk to Jerry when he gets back from the hardware store. Thanks, I said, hanging up. The next day, I received a call from an angry Jane. Marvin, my credit card isn't working, she said. What did you do? I canceled it, I said. I also split our bills and took my half. Why did you do it? She asked. I need this money. It's okay, bitch, I said. I need a wife who doesn't accuse me of shit I didn't do without giving me a chance to explain myself. I ended the call without giving her a chance to answer. She called again, but I didn't answer. She called a few more times, but I blocked her number. Some time later, Dale called. What do you need, Dale? I asked. Marvin, Jane says you canceled her credit card and split your bills, he said. Why did you do that? You're kidding, right? I asked. Why did you blindly believe Roger's fake photos without checking them? Do you know you're setting yourself up for a lawsuit? You wouldn't dare, he said angrily. Damn right, I said. I may not be able to sue for wrongful termination since we are an at-will staff, but you bought Roger's slander without blinking an eye. And I heard you fired Teresa this morning. Now Jane says that is filing for divorce. So yeah, I'm doing what I have to do. And if this shit doesn't get fixed, and I mean immediately, I'll file the biggest lawsuit against you all. Marvin, why can't you accept your punishment like a man? Dale asked. Because I didn't do anything damn wrong, I shouted. Dale, I've always considered you a second father. We've known each other since we were kids. Have I ever lied to you? Ever. As far as I know, no, Marvin, he said. That's right, I said. Because I respect you. But you never gave me a chance to explain myself, did you? You just accepted what that bastard showed you without question. You always said that I should stand up like a man when I was wronged. Well, there you go. What I'm doing now. So you better get your heads out of your asses. Did you know he tried to do the same thing to Darla? What? Dale asked. You mean Darla Thompson? From accounting? Yes, I said. I saw the photo and told Roger to stop this crap. It's all because of his revenge for telling him to stop. Now he's targeting Jane. This can't be true, Dale said. But it is so, I said. I'm telling you, Dale, Roger is having trouble with a capital B. If you don't stop this now, you'll end up in the biggest lawsuit, right along with him. You know I don't like threats, Dale said. I could hear the anger in his voice. It's not a threat, Dale, I said. I heard him breathing heavily for several seconds. I'll think about what you said, Dale said. You better be ready to prove it all. Don't worry, I said. I'm ready. You better be ready to fix this. I ended the call and looked at my watch. Teresa lived about 40 miles out of town, and I had plenty of time to get ready, so I showered, changed, and grabbed Sparky's leash. She knew that a leash meant a walk, and she ran up to me with her tail wagging and a smile on her face. I put on the leash and stroked her. You believe me, don't you, Sparky? I asked. It seemed to me that she nodded her head. We got into the truck and drove off, reaching her small house just in time. I saw Jerry's truck already parked in the small driveway. Teresa let me in when I knocked on the door. Of course, Sparky immediately attracted everyone's attention. Jerry shook my hand and Teresa gave me a cup of coffee. I'm so sorry about all this crap, he said. Darla told me what you said about Roger doctoring the photo of her. That's not all, I said. He claimed that the photo was taken on Saturday when you were with us. I'll kill that bastard, Jerry said. You'll get in line, I told him. We passed your house on the way here, Jerry said. We both saw his car in your driveway and all the lowlights were off. I'll strangle that bastard, I growled. You can do this after dinner, Teresa said, placing a large meatloaf on the table. We sat down and enjoyed her dinner. Sorry I couldn't cook something better, she added. She even gave a small piece to Sparky, who ate it in a second. I don't usually feed Sparky human food, but in this case I made an exception. This is wonderful, I said. Best thing I've eaten in the last 2 days. After dinner, we gathered in the living room and discussed the situation with Roger. Dale gave him your old job, Jerry said. He has no idea what he's doing. He's ruined the wheel drum so bad it's going to take us at least a week to recover. The wheel drum was a large device that used shot blasting to polish and deburr iron products after they were formed. The pieces were placed on a rotating table and exposed to millions of tiny beads, which essentially treated them like sandpaper. After the process was completed, the product became smooth, ready for painting or cladding. Our workshop had a rather old device that required significant maintenance. That's not all, Jerry said. He's bragging to the guys in production about how he's going to have sex with Jane. Some of us, including me, think he's full of crap, but seeing him at your house, I don't know. It sure doesn't look good. I looked at Darla. You work with Jane, I said. Did she say something? Darla shook her head. Not directly, she said. But Roger came by a few times and closed the door after he entered her office. She looked a little red when he left. I don't know what's going on, but it sure doesn't look good. Do you think they're actually doing this in her office? In the middle of the day? Teresa asked. Darla shook her head. You know how thin the walls are there, Darla said. If they were fooling around, we'd probably hear something. No, I think he's trying to wear her down with his crap. At that moment, my phone rang several times in a row. I looked and saw several text messages from an unfamiliar number. I'm having sex with your wife right now. The first message said, we read the rest in shock. Don't worry, Marv, old buddy. I'm taking great care of her. Read a third message. Maybe I'll get her pregnant for you. Then you'll have to pay child support. Ha ha, lol. The next 2 messages contained photographs. I laughed. The second photo showed a close-up of the same woman. "What's so funny?" Jerry asked. "That stupid bastard," I said. "That's not Jane in these photos." "How do you know?" he asked. "I was married to Jane 20 years, I said. "Trust me, I know what she looks like. I don't know who this guy is, but it's not her." "What are you going to do?" Darla asked. "I think I'll give Dale something to think about," I said. "Let's see if he gives Jane the same chance to explain himself that he gave me." "You're cold-blooded," Jerry said. I nodded. "Yes," I said. "Maybe this will wake up the old man." I forwarded messages and photos to Dale's phone and waited for a response. I also forwarded them to Jane's phone. I unblocked her number to see if she would answer. I also told her that I forwarded them to her father and that I would file for divorce on the grounds of adultery based on these photos. Let her digest this, I decided. We talked until late into the night, but Jerry and Darla had to leave to go to bed. After they left, I pulled out a couple $100 and handed them to Teresa. "Marvin, I'm grateful, but I can't accept this," she said. "You can," I said, "and if you need more, let me know." "Thank you, Marvin," she said, hugging me. Sparky put her paw on her, so she leaned over and hugged my furry friend. After I put the leash on Sparky, we walked to the truck and drove back to the motel. About halfway to the motel, Sparky began to move, indicating that she needed to go to the bathroom. I recognized these signals and stopped at a small roadside place located about 10 miles from the motel. It was dark, and I couldn't tell if anyone else was around, so I took the gun from the glove box and put it in my coat pocket. I put the leash on Sparky and let her out of the truck. We walked for quite a long time in the dark while she looked for a place to relieve herself. We made it halfway to the toilet before she finally did her job. I took a baggie from the trash can in front of the toilet and cleaned up after her, then realized I needed to go to the toilet myself, so I went inside to relieve myself while Sparky waited outside the stall. I cleaned up, grabbed the leash, and walked out into the cold night. I noticed something was wrong right away. My truck was missing. I saw tracks in the fresh snow where someone had gotten in and driven off, but I didn't hear the engine. I looked around, but there was no one. Damn, I thought. What else could go wrong? I took out my phone to call 911, but the battery was dead. Damn it, I thought. It was turning into a real nightmare. With Sparky on his leash, I started walking towards the motel, knowing I had a good 10 miles to walk. It was cold and dark, and there was not a single light on the road. To make matters worse, the snow was falling quickly and accumulating on the road, making it slippery. I was hoping someone would drive by, but I had no luck. We walked slowly, and I almost fell into the ditch several times as snow covered the road. A couple of hours later, I saw lights ahead and remembered that there was a church on the road, so I was hoping that someone would be there and let me use the phone. I walked up to the church, and someone at the door said I needed to tie Sparky outside. I tied the leash to the railing on the church steps, petted her, and told her to stay. "May I use your phone?" I asked. "Someone stole my truck in the parking lot, and I need to call the police." "Yes, of course," said the man. "Come in." The church had a coffee maker on. I thanked the man, grabbed a cup of hot coffee, and called 911. It took a while to talk to someone who seemed to know what to do. Finally, a woman's voice came on the line. I recognized the voice of Faye Armbrister, a friend from school. This is one of the advantages of living in a close community, I suppose. "Faye, is that you?" I asked. "Yes, is that Marvin Coolidge?" she answered. "Yes, it's me," I said. "I'm trying to report my truck stolen." I gave her the license plate number and description of the car and waited while she verified the information. "Looks like one of our deputies found it about an hour ago on Highway 57. It looks like whoever took it failed to make it past Dead Man's Turn and went off an embankment. Looks like the car flipped over several times," she said. "She was towed to Rupert's body shop." "Damn," I said. Dead Man's Turn was known in these parts as a death trap. Many people, including my parents, died at this turn. "Yes," she said. "Lots of accidents today. Lots of ice and snow. Sorry." It's okay, Faye, I said. Thank you. I ended the call and looked at my watch. I was on the phone for at least half an hour. I found a person who let me in and explained the situation. I don't want to call anyone this late with this snowfall, I said. Can my dog and I stay here overnight? She's well behaved and doesn't do her business at home, and I can lie down on one of the benches. The man thought for a couple of minutes before nodding. I think it'll be all right, he said. Go get your dog. I'll find some blankets. Thank you, I said. I came out and saw that Sparky was gone. Could she really have run away? I tied the leash pretty tight and Sparky wasn't one to run away. Perhaps someone untied her leash. I saw her footprints in the snow and began to follow them, calling her name. I walked down the road for what seemed like an eternity, calling her name. Soon the falling snow covered the tracks, and I saw no sign of her. I was exhausted both mentally and physically, and sat down in the snow by the side of the road. Suddenly all this fell upon me: pain, humiliation, and despair. Why did all this have to happen? I asked myself. What have I done to deserve this? First I lost my job, then I lost my wife and house, then my truck. And now my dog, the only thing I thought would remain faithful to me, has abandoned me. And my wife and father-in-law refuse to even listen to my side. All because of one lie of one scoundrel. For the first time since all these troubles began, I cried bitter tears. I looked up at the sky, watching the snow fall. Why? I shouted to the sky. There was no answer. And then it dawned on me. My parents died 10 years ago. Maybe I could join them and all my problems would disappear. Or I might just freeze to death. Perhaps a snowplow will pass by and cover my body with a mass of snow, and they will only find me in the spring. To hell with it all, I finally told myself. Either way, I'm lost. I took the pistol out of my pocket and made sure that the last remaining cartridge was in place. And then I heard it. Mister, why are you trying to kill yourself? I heard the voice of a little girl. Shocked, I turned towards the sound coming from my left side. I saw a little girl who was no more than 6 or 7 years old, wearing a red velvet dress and a white blouse. She stood in the snow in her shiny black shoes. She should have been cold in this weather, but she didn't seem to notice the cold. Who are you? I asked. Why are you here in this weather? Where are your parents? I'm a friend, she said. Why are you trying to kill yourself? I burst into tears as I told her my story. I cried even more as I told her about how Sparky left me. I didn't do anything wrong, I said, shivering from the cold, tears blurring my eyes. He knows, said the girl. I looked at her. Who knows? I asked. He, she said, pointing upward. The one whose birthday you're celebrating. He knows you didn't do anything wrong. Then why is all this happening? I asked. Because, she said with a shrug, it rains on the righteous as well as on the unrighteous. You have been forgiven much, Marvin Coolidge, and as much as you have been forgiven, you must forgive. How do you know who I am? I asked, confused. She smiled shyly. Your parents told me about you, she said, and it's not time for you to join them yet. What is this? I asked myself. Am I hallucinating? Am I crazy or what? My parents died 10 years ago. This girl couldn't know them. Perhaps I'm suffering from hypothermia. I looked at her again, trying to figure out who she was. She seemed familiar to me for some reason, but I couldn't remember where. Her eyes suddenly lit up. Here she comes, she said. Who? I asked. Sparky, she said. Who else? I looked in the opposite direction and saw Sparky running towards me with the car's headlights behind her. Soon my faithful dog was on top of me, licking my face. I hugged her tightly, tears streaming down my face. She was wet from the snow, but I didn't care. My Sparky is back. I looked at the headlights, which had stopped. I saw 2 figures in front of the car, but the light blinded me and I could not see who it was. It seemed to be a woman and a man, but I didn't recognize them. Then I heard a woman's voice and realized who it was. Marvin, Jane called. It's you. She walked faster towards me and was soon standing next to me. Oh God, Marvin, I thought you were dead. I was so worried when the sheriff said your truck went off the road and overturned. I thought I had lost you forever. We were driving down the road looking for you when we saw Sparky. She barked at us and ran back, so we followed her. She saw the gun in my hand. What were you going to do? Don't tell me you were going to kill yourself. The man came up to me and helped me up. He took the gun from me and unloaded it. I saw that it was Dale. Come on, son, he said calmly. Let's get out of the cold and go home. Home? I asked. Yes, he said. Home. Where you belong. To your wife. I looked again, but the girl had disappeared, and there were no tracks in the snow. Where did she go? I asked myself. Dale looked at me. Are you okay? He asked. Did you see the little girl here a couple of minutes ago? I asked. They looked at each other and shook their heads. No, we didn't, said Jane. No one was here. You've been out in the cold too long. Come on, get in the truck. We have blankets and hot coffee for you. They put me in the back seat of Dale's double cab. Jane sat in the back with me and wrapped me in a heavy blanket. She took towels and began to dry me off. Luckily, I put on thermal underwear before going to Teresa's, otherwise I would have been in even worse shape. Dale opened the front door and Sparky jumped inside. After Dale got behind the wheel, he poured a cup of hot coffee from a thermos and handed it to me. I need to get my things and Sparky's food from the motel, I said, my voice shaking. Mind if we stop there first? No problem, Dale said. Are you still at the motel on Route 41? Yes, I said, warming my hands with a cup of coffee. My hands began to tingle as I held the warm cup. Jane held my head as Dale drove to the motel. I felt her tears as she held me and gently stroked my head. We got to the motel a few minutes later, and I picked up my things and checked out. Then we went home. Home, I thought. I couldn't think of a better place to be at that moment. By then, I was warm enough to sit up straight and speak without trembling. What happened? I asked. Well, after I received those messages you forwarded from Roger, I called Dad. Jane said, I can't tell you how angry I was. Dale laughed. Yes, he said. Reminds me of your mother. I called Roger right away and fired him on the spot. Then I called Jerry. I think Jerry and a few other guys talked to him, if you know what I mean. He fooled us all. I knew what he meant. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for Roger. Almost. Except you, Jane said, looking at me sadly. You knew right. I'm so sorry I didn't believe you, Marvin. I should have known better. I was just so shocked when he showed me those pictures. So why was Roger at the house tonight? I asked. She looked surprised that I knew. Jerry told me this evening that he saw Roger's car at the house. Roger was there, she said. He said all sorts of nasty things about you, claiming that he was sorry that I had to deal with an unfaithful husband. He tried to get you into bed, you understand that, right? I said. Jane nodded. I know, she said. I told him to leave, and then I got these messages from you half an hour later. You didn't do anything to him, did you? I asked. Oh, hell no, she said. Jane had never lied to me before, so I decided to give her a chance. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. Can you ever forgive me for not believing you? She asked. Dale intervened. And I can't tell you how sorry I am that I didn't give you a chance to explain yourself, son, he said. Can you forgive me too? In all the years I knew him, this was the first time he apologized for anything. I remembered the words of that girl. Perhaps I thought I should try to forgive, although part of me wanted to take my anger out on them. I forgive you, I said. Both of you. Jane hugged me and kissed me. I love you so much, Marvin, she said, tears streaming down her face. Soon we were home. Dale helped me carry my things into the house and Jane put out fresh coffee. After we got everything inside, Dale, Jane, and I hugged in the front room. For a moment, I thought I saw a tear in Dale's eye. I feel so bad about all of this, he said. I promise I'll fix everything. What about Teresa? I asked. She got her job back, with a promotion, Dale said. I also plan on making a public apology to her on her first day back after the holidays. Oh, and don't worry about the severance check. Let's call it a bonus. Thanks, Dale, I said. I looked at Jane. I returned your gift. Sorry. She shook her head. Don't worry about it, she said. I probably deserve it, considering how I treated you. Besides, the best thing I can get for Christmas is for you to come home. You can thank Sparky for that, I said. Yes, we can, can't we? She asked. We hugged for a moment, and I heard the little girl's voice in my head. Merry Christmas, Marvin Coolidge. I'll keep an eye on you, she said. I looked and saw her standing in the room, wearing the same red dress. Sparky stood next to her and looked up, tongue hanging out. The girl leaned over and petted Sparky, then suddenly disappeared. Neither Delid nor my wife saw her. After Dale left, Jane took me upstairs. That's all I want for Christmas, she purred. It's all yours, baby, I said. Damn right, she said, clinging to me. By the way, I knew it wasn't you in the pictures Roger sent, I said. How did you know that? She asked. Are you serious? I asked. How many years have we been married? I understood right away. She giggled. Just be glad we didn't have to prove it to your father, I said. She laughed. I'm glad, she said. Trust me, I'm glad. The next day was very eventful. Jane took the day off, so we went to the bank and reset our accounts and applied for 2 new credit cards. We then went to her lawyer and asked him to destroy the divorce papers. Luckily, they haven't been filed yet. Something told me that they should be left, he said. We then visited my lawyer, who was preparing a libel suit against Roger for the fake photo. He agreed to add Jane, citing photos Roger claimed were of her, and said he would give Darla and Teresa a chance to join the suit if they wanted. Next stop was Stone Jewelry. I ran into the store while Jane waited in the car. The owner recognized me when I walked in and smiled when I asked if he still had the necklace I had returned. Luckily, I still had the check since I hadn't deposited it in the bank yet. You know, it's funny, he said. Something told me I should leave it, so I did. Are you sure? Absolutely, I said. We made the exchange, and I returned to the car, putting the box in my coat pocket. We then drove to Rupert's body shop to meet with the insurance agent. The truck was badly damaged, and I wasn't surprised when he said it was a total loss. At least it was paid, and I got my money back from him. I signed the papers, took my things from the truck, and was told to expect a check in the mail. It was quite late when we returned home. Dale's truck was parked on the side of the road, and a brand new Ford F-154X4 crew cab was parked in the driveway. I was surprised who else we could have. We parked in the garage and went into the house where Dale was waiting for us. Whose truck is this? I asked. Dale smiled and handed me the keys. Yours, he said, handing over the keys. I decided it was the least I could do, and besides, it wouldn't do for my new coup to drive the old truck you had. I looked at him in surprise. Yeah, he added, you're my new coup, son. From now on. Damn, you're the only one who can keep the company running. I don't know what to say, I said. Say thank you, he said with a smile. Thank you, I said. He laughed and patted me on the back. I'll be with you for Christmas, he said. I hope you like the new car. He kissed Jane and petted Sparky before leaving. Jane and I checked out the new truck. It was dark blue, my favorite color, and equipped with every possible accessory. Take me for a ride, Jane said, sitting in the passenger seat like a little girl. I went into the house, took Sparky's leash, and we all went for a ride around town showing off the new truck. We stopped at Sonic, where we ate a dirty hamburger just like in our high school days. I heard someone calling me from a car parked a few spaces down. Marvin, Jerry asked, this is your car? Yes, I said. Maybe we'll take it next time we go hunting. Damn sure, he said. That's a cool car. I heard good news, by the way. Congratulations. Thank you, I said. I told him about the lawsuit and asked if he and Darla would like to join. Damn sure, he said. Sign us up. I heard you talk to Roger, I said. He nodded. You could say that. he said. I think he realized it wasn't worth doing anymore. We laughed and talked about work before he left. Bye, Jane, he added as he walked away. The next day was Christmas Eve, and the kids were flying in from college. We took a new truck and went to meet them at the airport. It was a bit crowded in the cabin with two guys, Sparky, Jane, and me, but we managed. Dale came over early the next day, and we had a wonderful family Christmas day around the tree. Jane's eyes widened as she opened the gift I bought her. I was equally surprised when she pulled out a long box from one of her hiding places and handed it to me. It was the .54 caliber flintlock musket I had been dreaming of for a long time. We all exchanged gifts, and yes, Sparky got her gifts too, since she was part of the family like everyone else. After lunch, we all sat down to watch football. Even Sparky participated, barking at the teams as they moved around the field. Finally, the day ended and Dale went to his truck. I went out to see him off and thanked him for the new pickup. Please, he said. By the way, how did you know that the photos Roger sent were fake? I've been married to Jane for 20 years, I said. Believe me, I immediately realized that it wasn't her. He thought about it for a moment before realizing. His eyebrows rose as a light went on in his head. Got it, he said. Say no more. See you on January 2nd, he said, shaking my hand. I'm going skiing, so I'll be out of town. Think you can stay out of trouble while I'm out of town? I'll try, I said. A few days later, when the snow had melted a little, I took Sparky for a walk to a park near us. I saw someone sitting on a bench with his head in his hands. He looked up as we walked along the concrete path. It was Roger. In a rage, he got up from the bench and walked towards us. You damn bastard, he shouted, getting ready to hit me. Because of you, I got fired and I can't find a job in this remote town. The next moment, Sparky ran towards him and knocked him down. Her teeth were exposed and her nose was an inch from his face. Roger looked scared and tried to crawl away, but Sparky wouldn't let him. Well, I said calmly. Roger looked at me with horror in his eyes. Please, he said. Take it away. I'm sorry, I really am. It was all for fun. Fun? I asked. You almost destroyed my family, as well as several other people. We didn't think it was funny, trust me. So, what do you choose? Look, take it away, please, he begged. I'll leave town, I'll do whatever you say. I think it would be wise, I said. Leave, now, and never set foot in this town again. I'll leave, he said. I'll pack my things and leave right now. Smart choice, I said. I looked at Sparky. Sparky, I said. To me. Sparky immediately moved away from Roger and stood next to me, looking at him. I petted her and praised her as Roger stood up and ran to his car. I later heard that he had moved to a town about 50 miles away where he got a job as an assistant manager at a fast food restaurant. Jane laughed hard when I told her what happened. Of course, that didn't stop the lawsuit against him. Realizing that his case was bad, he offered a settlement after a few months. It wasn't what we expected, but we knew he would pay for years, perhaps until he started collecting Social Security. We accepted the offer and continued to live. The evening of the day I met Roger, I was sitting in a chair, watching TV and thinking about that little girl. I knew I had seen her before, and suddenly it dawned on me. Sparky was one of several puppies brought to the shelter after their owners died in a tragic accident. The shelter worker we dealt with even showed us a photo of the family and gave it to us. I took out our photo album and started looking through it when I saw that photo. There were several puppies on it, one of which was Sparky. 3 people stood next to the puppies, a man, a woman, apparently his wife, and a little girl in a red dress and white blouse. The girl had one hand on Sparky and smiled at the camera. It was her, the same girl I saw on the road and at home. A chill ran through my body. I looked up and a tear rolled down my cheek. Thank you, I said quietly, realizing that if it weren't for Sparky, I probably wouldn't be alive. Whether she knew it or not, I felt like my new life was her gift to me, and I was eternally grateful. Please, I heard her voice in my head. subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think, click to the next one. Click to the next one. Click to the next one.